Okay, this is what I'm going to be painting today. It's done from a photograph taken by Warwick Locke. Fantastic photographer, especially of the sea, but he does animals and various other stuff as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do this. This I won't do in that blue. I will do in a sort of almost a mauvey orangey color, and it'll be a complementary color to the blue that we have in here. So it'll be slightly yellowish. Then I'm going to, if you look at the picture, I've just done a very, very basic outline of this wave here down there. I haven't put too much pencil on. I've used a 6B. So I'm going to paint into the sky first there, and leave these very loose and sort of misty. So basically I'm going to do this in two stages, the sky and the tops of the waves, and then when that's dry I will do the rest of the painting. Okay, so I'll leave this up here. We'll refer back to it just now. Yes, I'm going to just wet this paper thoroughly first. I'll bring that water right down to where the wave is, because that's as far as I'm going to go with this first wash. And I'm going to mix some alizarin crimson, some cadmium orange, and some blue to give me that darkish, beautiful dark mauve colour. I might use some indigo in here as well. So I'm putting this colour on quite liberally. I'm going to tilt the board so that it doesn't go too far into the painting. And I'll start to create the effects of those waves. I'll bring that right down to here. And I can tilt this board so that the white keeps on running back into there. And while they're still wet, I'm going to bring in the colours that are a little bit darker. I'm still holding this board at a reasonably steep angle. I'm going to bring some darks in here as well. See, I'm not being too careful, but I'm allowing this to run where it needs to run. When there's too much water, I can just take it off right from the edge, not on the paper itself. And then I can allow those colours to run. I don't want to get too many lines on this painting, so I might actually use the hairdryer. I got a little bit too wet in this initial stage, but I'm not too concerned about it. I'm going to let that run down just a little bit more, give me a bit of colour down there. Okay. Now to give me a uniform drying, I'm going to actually use the hairdryer. Okay, the painting is back where it should be. So what we've done, and I've still got to dry it a little bit more, is we've created the sky in the background. It could be a little bit darker, but I'm not too worried about that. And we've left this nice and misty over here, so we can actually start working on the tops of these waves as soon as I've let it dry a little bit. Okay, so give that another 5 minutes and then we'll carry on. Right, my next wash, I'm going to use a bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of viridian. And I'm going to do, if you look at the picture, I'm going to do this shadowing in here, which are the shadows actually in the wave. And I'll have to leave some whites over there. Maybe put some shadow in there. And then my final wash will be to darken these areas in the dark areas of the wave over there. Okay. So let me mix that. Viridian, I'm going to just put that color in there for the time being. I'll bring that right down here because that's going to be part of where the shadow is. Okay, and that's where the wave is, so let's just pop all of that in there. Now while it's still wet, I'm going to just create some shadows up into that cloud there and just soften those edges. There will be some whites left in there. I'm just softening those edges a bit. You can actually just take that out a little bit with a piece of paper. Cotton towel. Let's just use a smaller brush now to bring a few little darker areas into play, which will be maybe down there. If you have a look at it carefully, you'll see where those darks are. But I'm trying to create the effect of the wave. So whenever I put a bit of that shadow in, I'll come back into it and soften those edges. Especially in areas where I need to leave the white. Take off just enough. Okay, I'm going to start developing a few more little dark areas here. And again, leaving those whites in that wave. Softening those edges again, because the wave has always got a bit of a soft touch to it. Okay, and then right under where the wave is breaking, along those edges. We'll come in there like that. And the shadow will be the darkest at the bottom of that wave over there, so let's just drop a little bit more. Don't want it to dry out into cauliflowers, so you know what, just add a bit more water. And where you want to take it off, you take it off. You can highlight that, it'll give you those nice little darks and lights. I'm going to just soften that edge a little bit. There we go. And again, bring in a few more darks here. As we go. Try and always bear in mind the shape of the wave. I'm starting to just establish a few of these darker points here. While it's still wet, it'll create a nice I'm putting these dark areas in close to the focal point here. So let me just start to create the shape of that wave. As you can see in the photograph, I'm working on these areas over here now with those little darks. Okay. And I'm going rather haphazardly. If I feel that an area needs to be softened, I will soften it. And bring in these bottom section of waves with the shadows, which are going to be much lighter than those areas that I've done already. So that I'm going to, that's the shadow line of that whole wave. I'll create another one here just to balance it off a bit. And I'm creating, okay, so let's just get the shape of that wave starting to go there. Again, just soften those edges if you think they need softening in certain areas. Try and leave a little bit of white there. And again, I'm trying to establish the shape of this wave. So I keep on going into it, even here. And this is just the second wash at this stage. I'm just going to soften certain edges over here. And leave those white highlights. Okay, it's coming together slowly. Just take a little bit of this paint out here. A very light area over there. I'm going to be putting the shadows in last. Because that'll be my final bit of work on this particular painting. Okay, let's just there'll be lots of little highlights in this area here, and I'll leave some dry brush stroke as well. Okay, I need quite a lot of light. I'm going to bring some dark in here as well, because there are some shadows coming down over here from maybe a wave on the side here. I'll blend that in there. And I'll just create that effect of the white foam in the water. Just do that fairly haphazardly, but make sure they all kind of connect, because that's what they do in real life. That would connect down to there, and that would connect into there, and that. In this corner here, I'm going to put a nice little dark so that your eye actually, yeah, from there. Okay, so we're getting there slowly. Painting's almost done, actually. Let me just put a few more little darks in there. Not too much. I like that viridian colour. Well, if you get a few cauliflowers here or there, sometimes they work for you. These ones I think will work for me, as long as I keep the tops fairly loose, we'll be fine. And again, just create the shape of the wave in your brush strokes. You start getting some interesting dynamics in the painting just by letting the watercolor do its work, okay? I just need to darken off the bottom section of this wave a bit more while it's still wet. Because that is a nice dark shadow with lots of blue and join that up with that. Okay, we're almost there. We want to create a fairly definite shadow line going up over there. Again, just keep those edges nice and soft. Alrighty, I'm going to use the hairdryer again so we can move on to the next stage a little bit more quickly. Okay. Going to let that dry and then we'll finish it off. Okay, I've dried that. Now I'm going to start picking up with my Joseph's Boogwitch brush these little dark areas underneath the wave, which give it a bit of character and illustrate the kind of the foaminess of the wave. Again, I'll be using indigo. And a bit of that Viridian green. So here we go. Let's just start to create. And that'll become your focal point as well, because your eye will move towards that those dark areas. Just again creating the flow shape of the wave. So the wave curves this way and into that area there. So I'm going to try and pick up that flow. And if these areas are too in your face, so to speak, I will soften them a little bit. Again, join these up so that it looks like it's part of the... Okay, so there's only two very small phases of this painting left. So it's this one here that I'm doing now. Okay, you can see this, the shape of the wave starting to look a little bit more real. I don't want to overdo this because otherwise you confuse the eye as it looks at the painting. But But I am just going to bring in a few little shadow waves, as you can see them on the paint, on the sketch. Okay. And I'm using the darks and the lights to create that contrast. Like a general rule. And it applies in seascapes as well as any other scape that you want to paint. Just pick up a few little shadows in these areas here as well, just to show that there's some sort of continuity in here. This is a very nice brush, this Joseph's Bookvich brush. Okay, reasonably happy with that so far. Let's just soften a few of these edges. They don't have to be too hard. Okay, just do that with a slightly wet brush. It helps to fade those hard edges into the wave face. You'll get used to what to do, you just got to keep on looking. Okay, so just soften a few of those edges. Let's get those two to join each other. And that one. Continuous need just to balance out certain areas of the painting. Your eye should pick it up with a bit of practice. I just do it automatically now. Soften, soften, soften. There again, I can see that's a bit hard and that's a little bit hard, so I'm going to just soften that into the wave, maybe there a bit as well. Okay, I need maybe a little bit of shadow in here. Maybe a little bit down there. Just to define that